Okay, let's go.
Welcome back to the Endzone. With the bulk of the offseason over and the players reporting to minicamps, it's time to take a look at how each team did this 2023 offseason. First up, we are starting off with the AFC North.
The 2022 Super Bowl runner-ups looked to repeat their fantastic season and make it back to the big game. Their 2022-23 campaign started off to a rough start with a 5-4 record through their first 9 games. However, after their bye week, the Bengals rattled off an impressive 7-game winning streak and looked to be one of the hottest teams going into the playoffs. Their win streak carried them 2 more games where they defeated their division rivals in the Baltimore Ravens in the wildcard game, and then defeated the Buffalo Bills in the divisional. However, most good things come to an end. The Bengals lost a close one to the eventual Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Conference Championship game. With Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals establishing them as one of the premier teams in the league, let's take a look at how their 2023 offseason went. The Cincinnati Bengals are not known for spending big in free agency. However, 2023 was different. They started off the free agency period signing star left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. to a 4-year, $64 million deal. With a star quarterback like Joe Burrow, the Bengals need to do everything in their power to protect him. This came as a surprise since he did not resign with his current team and took less than was reportedly offered. Brown Jr. scored a 75.8 PFF rating last season, while only allowing 4 sacks. Brown should replace Jonah Williams, who was tied for first with 12 sacks allowed. The Bengals also re-signed key linebacker Jermaine Pratt. Pratt is a great leader and had some huge plays in their Super Bowl run. Pratt was given an 80 PFF grade last season. Knowing the future cap struggle their offense will cause, the team had to make do with letting other key defensive players walk. Their biggest loss was to safety duo Jesse Bates and Von Bell. The Bengals also let tight end Hayden Hurst, corner Eli Apple, and running back Samaj Perine walk. After free agency wrapped up, the Bengals knew they needed to replace their depleted defense with some new blood. Rookies offer a great chance to save some money on proven vets, but also come with much more liability. The Bengals attacked defense with their first 3 rounds of picks. They selected defensive end Myles Murphy with the 28th pick. Murphy is a fantastic edge prospect that fell in the draft due to lack of production in his last season. Cincy also drafted speedster DJ Turner and stud safety Jordan Battle to fill in their secondary. With their draft of Braxton Hill last year, the Bengals had a great young core to build around. Overall, we give the Cincinnati Bengals a B-. The Baltimore Ravens season got off to an impressive start with a hot 7-4 start. 3 of the losses were one-score games, one-off game-winning field goals, or a last-second touchdown allowed. The Ravens season took a turn for the worst when superstar quarterback Lamar Jackson went down with an injury early in the week, 12 game against the Denver Broncos. The Ravens salvaged the remainder of the season behind the mediocre play of backup quarterback Tyler Huntley. The flock would finish the season on a 3-3 run with the offense taking a noticeable hit and never scoring more than 20 points during this run. The Ravens season is in that weird gray area where yes, you made the playoffs with a positive record, but got bounced in the first round. The offseason had a clear agenda for GM Eric DeCosta, and it revolved around their quarterback Lamar Jackson. The offseason contract drama between Lamar Jackson and the Ravens went on for weeks. Both sides settled on a 5-year, $260 million deal. Lamar negotiated his own contract with the help of Jalen Hurts, setting a precedent for dual-threat quarterbacks. The former league MVP got locked down in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. The Ravens front office followed up the commitment to Jackson with the free agency signing of wide receivers Odell Beckham Jr. and Nelson Aguilar. Odell should be an immediate improvement and the best receiver Lamar has ever played with. Baltimore also took some flyers on 2 corners, looking to turn their career around with the flock. Trayvon Mullen and Rock Ya-Sin struggled last season with their previous teams, but should add depth to the Ravens' already strong secondary. The flock's biggest loss was guard Ben Powers, who graded very well in pass protection. After free agency wrapped up, the team looked to add more weapons on offense with selecting Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Flowers will be a great addition with their offense and should be a potential favorite target of Jackson. They then added to their defense with the addition of versatile linebacker Trenton Simpson. Their best addition could be the flyer on guard Andrew Voorhees from USC. Voorhees was one of the top linemen in the class, but sadly suffered a torn ACL during the NFL Combine. We give them a C+. Paying Lamar was needed, but injuries may force the team to struggle if he's not on the field. The Pittsburgh Steelers season had about as bad of a start as a season could. After a Week 1 overtime upset of the Bengals, the Steel Curtain looked more like an artisanal rug, as they just ran over, dropping 6 of the next 7 games. Their Week 9 bye couldn't have come soon enough. On paper, the rest of their season was very successful, ending with 7 wins and 2 losses. However, none of the teams they got wins over ended the season with winning records except for a Week 17 win over a Lamar Jackson-less Ravens squad. Nonetheless, the finish kept head coach Mike Tomlin's winning season streak alive. Steelers GM Omar Khan had to make a splash in his first full offseason as the team's general manager. The roster had pieces to work with, but still had glaring holes that needed to be addressed. The Steelers started out the offseason with the signing of veteran linebacker Cole Holcomb. Holcomb is a gamer in the middle of the defense. Cole and the Steelers inked a 3-year, $18 million deal. The Steelers also added the ageless Patrick Peterson. The 33-year-old cornerback had a great season last year for the Minnesota Vikings and looks to continue that for the Steelers. Peterson was given an 80.7 PFF grade while being tied in second for interceptions. They were also able to retain defensive lineman Larry Ogunjobi. On the offensive side of the ball, they added star guard Isaac Sumalo. Sumalo's 2022 season was graded a 75 by PFF and highlighted by only 1 sack given up. Free agency was not all additions. They lost a key player in Cameron Sutton. Sutton scored a 71.6 by PFF. They did let the linebacking duo of Devin Bush and Miles Jack walk after they vastly underperformed. After free agency, the Steelers really excelled in the 2023 draft. They had one of the better all-around drafts by many analysts. Their first-round selection was for stud left tackle Broderick Jones from Georgia. Jones should look to anchor the left side of the line and protect Kenny Pickett blindside for years to come. With the pick acquired from the Claypool trade, the Steelers selected Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. Porter is a very physical corner. Porter was a projected first-rounder and meant to go to play for his dad's team. Pittsburgh also managed to get one of the highest upside players in the draft in Darnell Washington. The freakish tight end prospect could develop into one of the league's most dynamic players. Standing at a massive 6 feet 7 inches, Washington has the massive frame to be a dominant run blocker and the speed and athleticism to develop into a receiving threat. Their 4th-round selection of Nick Herbig should all be a great value selection. Herbig racked up 11 sacks and 13 TFLs, last in his last season with Wisconsin. The Pittsburgh Steelers vastly improved on both sides of the ball with their offseason transactions. We give them a solid A grade. Now let's see if Kenny Pickett is the real deal. Rounding out the bottom of the AFC North, we take a look at the Cleveland Browns season. Much like their division rival Baltimore Ravens, the Browns played a large portion without their starting quarterback. In the 2022 offseason, the Browns gave former Houston Texans QB Deshaun Watson a massive $250 million contract. Unlike Lamar, the Browns knew Watson was going to miss time for previous off-the-field incidents. Watson was suspended for the first 11 games of the season. In the interim, the Browns' offense was run by veteran QB Jacoby Brissett. Brissett is by no means a bad option for a quarterback, but is definitely not in the discussion for a true long-term starting option. Brissett and the Browns managed a 4-7 record with a surprise upset of the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 8. Week 13 saw the return of Deshaun Watson against his former team, the Houston Texans, just as the script writers wrote. Unfortunately, the Browns' hope for a season turnaround was short-lived. Watson had by many accounts vastly underperformed, and especially for the contract he was given. The Browns finished last in the division and with a 7-10 record overall. Going into the offseason, GM Andrew Berry had a tall task of turning this great roster, on paper, to a true playoff contender. Free agency got up to a hot start for the Cleveland Browns after signing veteran defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson to a 4-year deal worth $57 million. This was a great signing for the Browns. Last season, they had one of the worst run defenses in the league, and the new addition should fill the need of a true anchor they have been looking for. Dalvin is 29 years old, but has managed to stay relevantly injury-free outside of the 4 games he missed last season. Sticking with their defensive line additions, the team signed Ogbonia Okoronkwo previously with the Houston Texans. Okoronkwo looks to replace the underwhelming Jadeveon Clowney, who is still a free agent at the time of recording. Okoronkwo had an impressive 19% pass rush win rate, which ranked 13th in the league last season. The other notable addition to the Brown defense was the signing of former Kansas City Chiefs safety Juan Thornhill. Thornhill brings tons of experience to the secondary. He started 52 games for the Chiefs, including many in the playoffs. The team also traded for Elijah Moore, who should look to add a dynamic slot threat for Watson. After free agency, the team had to put their scouting to good use. Cleveland did not have any first or second round picks after their trade with Houston last year, when they acquired Deshaun Watson. The Browns' drafting started in the 3rd round with their selection of former Tennessee Volunteer Cedric Tillman. Tillman was the number 1 wide receiver going into the season, until a midseason injury sat him out for more than a month. Cedric is a true X-wide receiver that should fit well and look to replace either Amari Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones in the future. They added another big run stopper to help up front with Siaki Ika. This 360-pounder excels in the run game, so it was a great team need. Ika should also add some pass rush upside with the lack of attention he will garner, while teams tend to Myles Garrett. They added some offensive line depth with the selection of the Ohio State product, Dawan Jones. Jones is viewed as a bit of a project, but standing at 6'8" and weighing 375 pounds, there is no denying the upside for a future stalwart. The Browns did not have a lot to work with after they invested so much cap space and draft capital to hopefully end their quarterback woes. However, we think they truly got better and deserve a B+.